U.S. President Donald Trump confirms that the 25% duty on imports from Mexico and Canada will come into effect from today. He also levies an additional 10% duty on imports from China. Reports also suggest that Trump has halted all military aid to Ukraine following his heated meeting with Ukrainian President Zelensky at the White House. The confirmation of tariffs on Canada and Mexico spark a sell-off on Wall Street. The S&P 500 slips into the red for 2025 in its worst day since December. The Nasdaq slumps close to 3%. Asian markets fall, tracking the moves on Wall Street. The GIFT Nifty is also indicating a gap down start for our own markets as well. Gold prices rise on safe haven buying following Trump's tariff announcements. Crude prices decline on reports that OPEC could be set to increase output from the month of April. Boy, what a start it promises to be for a day. You're watching Power Breakfast on CNBC TV 18 in the Mumbai News Center. I am Hormuz Fatakia. Let's first take a look at how the Asian markets are faring this morning. And if you had to shut your eyes and pick one color, the color is red. And that's the color across the screen on the Asia Pacific markets as well. The Taiwanese index down 1.5%, as is the Hang Seng. The Japanese index, the Nikkei, is down 2.5%. The Kospi trading just below the flat line. The Shanghai Composite 2 trading just below the flat line, but with losses of 0.5%. But the losses coming predominantly from Japan and the Hang Seng and the Taiwanese index of anywhere between 1.5% to 2.5%. Pull up the GIFT Nifty as well, and that will give you an idea of how our own markets are likely to start off. Well, 162 points lower is what the implied open is suggesting currently. So most likely a start below the 22,000 mark for the benchmark index after we barely managed to defend that level in yesterday's trading session. But let's kick off today's Power Breakfast with the top news of the day. U.S. President Donald Trump, in his address to the media, said that reciprocal tariffs will begin on the 2nd of April, while tariffs on Mexico and Canada will go into effect later today. Listen in.
Tariffs, as you know, will start a week earlier than the reciprocal, which is going to be on a couple of weeks earlier. Reciprocal tariffs start on April 2nd. And I wanted to make it April 1st, but I didn't want to go April Fool's Day, because that costs a lot of money, but that one day. But so we're going April 2nd. Tariffs 25% on Canada and 25% on Mexico, and that'll start. So they're going to have a tariff. So what they have to do is build their car plants, frankly, and other things in the United States, in which case they have no tariffs. No room left for Mexico or for Canada. No, the tariffs, they're all set. They go into effect.
And as Donald Trump's Mexico and Canada tariffs come into effect today, Wall Street ended Monday's trading session lower. The Dow fell 850 points from the highs of the day to end 650 points lower. The S&P 500 fell 100 points. The Nasdaq too was the big underperformer, falling over 2.5% at the end of the trading session. CNBC's Peepa Stevens gets us a wrap of all the action on Wall Street.
U.S. markets were down across the major indexes in Monday trading, falling sharply after President Trump confirmed 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico will take effect Tuesday. The Dow tumbled 650 points, the S&P shed 105 points, and the tech-heavy Nasdaq dropping 497 points. President Trump announced on Monday afternoon that Taiwan Semiconductor will invest at least $100 billion into U.S. chip manufacturing plants, and that most of it will be in Arizona. The president says the investment will create 20,000 to 25,000 jobs. Taiwan Semi supplies semiconductors to companies including NVIDIA and Apple. And supermarket giant Kroger announced on Monday that its CEO Rodney McMullen has resigned following an internal investigation into his conduct. The Cincinnati-based company did not provide many details, but says the investigation was unrelated to the business, but did find action inconsistent with its business ethics policy. Board member Ronald Sargent will serve as chairman and CEO as the company searches for McMullen's replacement. Kroger shares were down about 3% today. That's what's happening here in the U.S. Back to you in Mumbai.
Well, some flashes on your screen. Canada has announced retaliatory tariffs on the U.S. after the tariff announcements by U.S. President Donald Trump that take effect today. Now, there are more details awaited on this, but based on what reports are suggesting, it will be done in two phases. The first one will be a 25% tariff on orange juice and of the other products, but we'll await more clarity on that. But for now, Canada has announced retaliatory tariffs on the US, and Justin Trudeau, the outgoing Canadian Prime Minister, has issued a statement on the same. We'll get you more details as they emerge. But staying with Wall Street, let's also listen to market experts and economists to give their views on how the tariffs that are soon to come into effect could impact the economy.
Tariffs are an adverse supply shock. It's bad for growth and it's bad for inflation. So if we just take the tariffs that are under discussion now, 25% on Mexico and Canada, another 10% for China, that we think takes about 0.7% off of GDP growth, just the arithmetic of it, and adds about 1% to inflation. So you're looking at an effective tariff rate that could go to 8 to 9%. But remember, we're also talking about still an aluminum tariffs. And on those tariffs, no exemptions have been announced. They're universal. And I think that's what the market is looking for. The tariffs have been threatened for foreign policy purposes initially, but now you're moving into specific products.
I think in the short term here, it creates a lot of uncertainty about earnings, and we are seeing analysts lowering their earnings for the first quarter. So they're obviously reading the newspapers, reading the headlines, watching you guys, and recognizing that right now, the way tariffs are going, it's not good for the economy. It's not good for earnings. We tend to pay a lot of attention to what's going on in Washington, and Washington matters, but we often forget to recognize how well the economy does despite Washington. And that's kind of the thesis I have, is that the economy is going to prove to be resilient, notwithstanding Washington.
Well, all of this hit the US markets overnight, but how will all of that impact our own markets? We'll tell you on the other side of this short break. Stay tuned, we'll be right back. Welcome back, and our research team is ready with how the trade setup looks like, the stocks that are likely to be in the news, and of course the setup on the FNO side as well. First up, Vinny is joining in to get all the market cues we need to watch out for. Vinny, good morning. A potential gap down start, but what are the other cues you're watching out for today?
Absolutely, a gap down start is what we were watching out for, but yesterday wasn't anything exciting as well. It started in the green and then went up to the red side, though recovered from the day's lowest point is what we saw coming in for the Nifty. Almost 100 points recovery at the end of the day from the day's low. 9th straight day of red coming in for the D straight. Mid cap that recovered very well, 1,000-point recovery, ended in the green as well. So that was some bit of a green that we saw coming in from the Nifty mid-cap side. But small cap saw recovery, but that ended on the red side, and small cap saw a decline of around 0.3% approximately in yesterday's trading session. Now FIIs, they continue to sell. 4,788 crores is what FIIs have sold, while DIIs have bought around 8,791 crore. The intensity of selling versus the previous sessions for FIIs, slight bit of that subduedness we saw, but continued selling is what we've seen coming in for the FII. So that is something that we're watching out for, because if that continues to sell, we're seeing that pressure coming in on the markets. Now, factors to watch out for: the US Feb manufacturing data that came in, the data overnight that we saw coming in, that was not anything exciting, subdued data that came in, and that is something that is impacting the markets. A bit of a subduedness in the US market is also what we're seeing in terms of the data points. Now, tariffs that were announced by Donald Trump on Canada, Mexico, China, that take effect today. So that uncertainty, weak sentiment continues, and overnight also what we got in terms of an update that US has halted the military aid that is given on Ukraine to Ukraine, and that is what is something that could see an impact, and that is why overall that weak sentiment continues in the market. We're expecting a gap down start is what the Nifty implied is indicating for the Indian markets.
160 points lower is what the implied open is suggesting. Vinny, thanks a lot for that. Over to Vamakshi now, who will list out the stocks you need to watch out for today. Vamakshi, good morning. What's on your list?
Good morning, Hormaz. Let me first start off with IEX. The stock will be in focus on the back of a monthly update. In the month of Feb, electricity traded volume saw an uptick of almost 9% on a year-on-year basis. The day-ahead market, that is the DAM, volume was up nearly 14% year-on-year. Real-time electricity market was also quite strong, with the volume seeing an uptick of almost 23% year-on-year. But it is the market clearing price in the day-ahead market that saw a downtick of almost 11% year-on-year. RBL Bank is another counter that we will be watching out for, and that is because GST authorities have initiated search at 3 offices of the bank in Maharashtra. The bank says that the proceedings are ongoing and they are cooperating in providing data as per the request placed. Ask Automotive will also be in focus. They've signed a technical assistant and license agreement with Kyushu Yanagawa Seki Corporation. This is for cast wheel production. InGrid Investment is another counter we'll be watching out for. Its arm has received a letter of intent for a project worth 195 crores from REC Power. And lastly, keep an eye out on Godrej Properties, because they've gone ahead and cancelled the 2000 agreement that they had signed with TCM Limited for a land parcel in Kochi. However, the company maintains that they see no material impact on the company's financials, operations, as well as other business activities.
Actually, thanks a lot for that. And finally, Manglam joins in with cues from the FNO space. Manglam, good morning. A potential start below 22,000, but what's the FNO data indicating?
That's exactly right. You know, if you look at the markets yesterday, there was a pullback from the lows in the second half of trade yesterday, specifically for the Nifty, and it was led by the Nifty IT index. Remember, the IT index was an underperformer in the previous trading session, did well in yesterday's trading session. It was the Nifty Bank which was slightly under pressure. The low yesterday, 22,004.7. That is something that we'll keep an eye out on, as the GIFT Nifty is indicating that the start could be below that low as well. And were we to break that, it would be breaking 22,000 for the first time since June 2024 itself. The broader markets, they recovered a little better in yesterday's trading session. The Nifty Next 50 and the mid-cap index actually ended mildly in the green. And that was largely because of strong domestic flows that came in a little over $1 billion, 8,700 crores. And this compares with FII selling of close to 4,800 crores. And if you look at the net institutional flows at 4,000 crores, that's the highest that we've seen in at least a month, X of all block deals, etc. The FIs also bought in index futures, close to around 150 crores. They had a little more longs than shorts, and their long exposure now stands at 16%, with shorts at 84% itself. They bought more calls than puts, and at the same time they also sold more puts than they bought puts. So that's telling you that they were hoping for some sort of support that came by. So today's low will be extremely crucial. We open with a gap down. Do we see a bit of a recovery from there or not? Because there are a lot of writers at the 22,000 put and the 22,100 put. On the way up, however, we will see some resistance around yesterday's high of 22,250 thereabouts, but that seems a far way given the given the sort of GIFT Nifty start that we're seeing. A couple of stocks I'll be watching out for. We have Angel One and BSE, both of them under severe pressure. Do we see some turnaround out there, or maybe with the weakness in the market, weakness continues in these capital market names too?
Indeed, we'll keep an eye out on all of this. Manglam, thanks a lot for that. And even as the market continues to remain under pressure, the question that is being asked the most, and pertinently today as well, are we at the bottom or close to the sell-off ending? Well, that's exactly the question we posed to our market editor Ramdev Agrawal of Motilal Oswal Financial Services, and this is what he had to say.
Earnings profile is slowed down, but it is not broken. I mean, last year, the current year, the earnings are going to grow at about 5-6%. And there is obvious reason for credit slowdown, economic slowdown. Every aspect of tightening by the regulators have happened. And now, and there was the election, so there's a delay in the government expenditure and all. So all of this have passed. I mean, this is the year of actually all kinds of difficulties, I would say, in economy. So I think we have set the mood. One, correction is done. The P multiple, which was at 23, 24, that has come down to less than 20. And it is at below 10 years average. So I think it is painful, I understand. It is painful to me also. But it is very, very logical. I mean, it's a proper, healthy correction. I think the divergence between mid and small is too high. Let's see how the market does. Maybe mid will keep correcting and large will make a move. Or large will make a move, but mid will stay there. And then it will catch up. So market does its own stuff. I think most important thing is now, don't wait for because we are closer to the bottom. Now, whether it is 1,000 points away, 500 points, I have no idea. And let me tell you, nobody has any idea. Now this is a time, stocks are making bottoms. All the stocks will not make bottoms on the same day. Okay. So if you like certain stock, and that stock is available at your dreamy price and it has gone below that, don't hesitate, start moving into the market. In 2-3 months' time, when promoters will actually come to buy, because they are the guys who are the smartest. They know the value of the company. So when the promoter starts buying, so actually you can't see that selectively in the companies, promoters will start buying. And those are companies to track. It's a much bigger game. So, the irrationality which was there, where because of lack of supply, the irrationality in terms of pushing the stock price of multiples to 70, 80, 100, irrespective, that was wrong. So that will correct. Even that is behind, I'm telling you. It will correct. What has to be corrected will get corrected. Capital market is as the sentiments gets hurt in last 5-6 months, there is a decline. There are restrictive, say like from daily F&O, now you have come to weekly expiry. So obviously there is a almost 30-40% decline in the overall F&O volume. So we got expanded too much. Between 21 and 24, we got expanded too much, and then the regulator got scared and they said, we want to contain it. And that's what they did. And effect of that is visible. I mean, Nitin of course knows the books. So that's what is happening in broking. That's what is happening in slowdown in now. AMC flow was very good till last month. This month, I think there is somewhat, it is slower.
Ramdev Agrawal there speaking to CNBC TV 18. Some flashes on your screen again. The Canadian Prime Minister in his statement saying that the tariffs will remain until the US levies are withdrawn. And so these are retaliatory tariffs imposed by Canada on the imports coming in from US. We'll get you more details as they emerge. But speaking at the Mobile World Congress, Bharti Airtel chairman Sunil Mittal has called for a reset of the way the global telecom industry functions. Now, he said that the industry is bearing the burden of building the world's digital infrastructure with very low returns on capital. Now, Mittal also said that he preferred collaboration compared to competition in the industry and pushed for consolidation among operators to enhance service quality, especially in rural areas, and to reduce operational costs. We'll take a short break. Up next, we get you cues from the commodities market. Manisha Gupta joins us on the other side. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Now, US President Donald Trump has also paused military aid to Ukraine following the spat with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. According to Trump administration officials, Trump will pause all aid until he determines that Zelensky is committed to good faith negotiations for peace. The move comes after Trump criticized Zelensky for not being sufficiently grateful about the US backing the Ukraine in the war against Russia. And Manisha Gupta now joins us with all the updates from the commodity space. Manisha, good morning. It seems that the OPEC is finally biting the bullet. How has that impacted crude prices?
Oh, well, absolutely. We've seen 2% of a decline in the overnight markets, and that has brought the crude oil prices to a 12-week lows as we stand. OPEC has said that they will increase output in the month of April. And then the U.S. tariffs could also hurt the global economic growth. Oil demand is something that the markets are dealing with. U.S. also could give sanctions relief to Russia. Russia, remember, is the third largest oil producer in the world. And if the Russian oil also starts coming into the market, well, that really is what is impacting the prices at this point in time and is the reason that we've seen the U.S. crude prices now decline below $70 a barrel. But the declines also have come in for some of these metal prices also. The trades are choppy on tariff uncertainty, while there has been support from strong China factory activity for the month of Feb. But the kind of statements coming in that the Mexico will propose matching tariffs to China, more tariffs of 10% on China would perhaps take effect from today. So there's a lot of tariff tension, which seems to be weighing on many of these base metal prices. So you have copper, aluminum trading in the negative, and iron ore prices now at a 6-week lows.
Iron ore prices at a 6-week low, oil prices at a 3-month low. And will that oil prices have an impact on our oil marketing companies and other oil sensitives? We'll wait and watch. But with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Power Breakfast from me and the team that put this show together. Thank you so much for watching. Bazaar Morning Call sets you up for what promises to be an action-packed day.